हेलो एवरीबॉडी। आज ह्यूमन एक्सक्रीशन टॉपिक के अंडर हम बात करेंगे ऑस्मो रेगुलेशन के बारे में। तो पहले देखते हैं ऑस्मो रेगुलेशन होता क्या है। दिस इज अ प्रोसेस व्हिच रेगुलेट्स द कंसंट्रेशन, composition and osmotic pressure of blood and other body fluids by regulating the water content of blood plasma। मतलब जो ब्लड प्लाज्मा है उसकी एक ऑस्मोलैरिटी है जो उसमें डिसॉल्व्ड जो सॉल्ट्स हैं, आयंस हैं और जो कंपाउंड्स हैं उनकी वजह से। तो एक होम्योस्टैसिस मेंटेन करने के लिए बॉडी फ्लूइड्स का लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स के अंदर ऑस्मो रेगुलेशन का एक प्रोसेस ऑपरेट करता है जिससे कि लिविंग थिंग्स जो हैं दे कैन कीप द राइट अमाउंट ऑफ सॉल्ट and water in their bodies, right? And this osmoregulation is possible due to flexibility in the working of kidneys। And osmoregulation का significance जो है वो देखा गया है बर्ड्स और मैमल्स के अंदर। वाई? बिकॉज ये जो एनिमल्स हैं ये टेरेस्ट्रियल मोड पे हैं जहाँ पे वाटर की अवेलेबिलिटी कम है। तो इनके अंदर एक एडेप्टेशन है टू secrete the urine either in the hypotonic form or in the hypertonic form depending upon the conditions। For example, when water intake is in excess, so extra amount of water is removed from the body and the urine excreted becomes hypotonic, so that body fluids body के dilute ना हो तो extra fluid जो है water से वो excrete किया जाता है and the urine becomes hypotonic। In contrast, जब water intake कम है या the body is in dehydrated state, so the body tends to retain that whatever amount of water it holds. So the urine that would be excreted would be in a concentrated form. It would be a hypertonic urine. So this is basically osmoregulation, the adaptation in birds and mammals, the higher vertebrates। Now, let's see the condition when excess of water is consumed, right? So, what will happen when the excess of water is consumed? So, the body fluids, the blood plasma, it becomes diluted. So, that would disturb the osmolarity of the blood, that would disturb the pH of the blood. So, to maintain homeostasis, how does the body adapt? It adapts by passing a hypotonic urine. Extra amount of water would be expelled out of the body. Now, this can be obtained in two ways. If you remember the uh, nephron diagram and the nephron physiology, so this can be attained in two ways: by increasing the ultrafiltration first. So ultrafiltration occurs in the glomerulus, right? The glomerulus Bowman's capsule, here they participate in the ultrafiltration process। So if you know that the afferent arteriole, उसमें जो blood pressure है, right, that is 60 mm of mercury, and that is opposed by certain other forces which operates in this Bowman's capsule, right? So the net pressure, जिसे हम glomerular filtration pressure कहते हैं, that becomes 10 mm of mercury, right? So with that pressure, the amount of fluid that is being filtered out would increase here in the case when the body has excess of water। Similarly, DCT का और कलेक्टिंग ट्यूब्यूल का रोल है इन रीएब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ वाटर। सो जब एक्सेस हमने पानी पी लिया है तो यूरिन को हाइपोटोनिक करने के लिए, उसमें ज्यादा अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर निकालने के लिए, एक तो यहाँ पे ग्लोमेरुलस में फिल्ट्रेशन का जो रेट है वो बढ़ जाएगा, यानी कि अल्ट्रा फिल्ट्रेशन यहाँ पे इंक्रीज हो जाएगा। सेकेंडली, जो डीसीटी एंड कलेक्टिंग ट्यूब्यूल है, ठीक है, यहाँ पर these cells, they are permeable to water, right? So these will close and that will decrease the reabsorption of water। So these are two regulatory steps. Let's see them in detail. Now, see the condition when excess of water is consumed. So the first step, as I said, would be by increasing ultrafiltration। Now, when we have consumed high amount of water, so basically क्या हो रहा है कि जो blood volume है, जो प्लाज्मा है वो डाइल्यूट हो गया है, ठीक है, तो ब्लड वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज हो गई है, या हम कहे ऑस्मोलारिटी डिक्रीज हो गई है, जो उसमें डिजॉल्व सॉल्ट्स हैं वो dilute हो गए हैं. So the blood volume it increases and that increases the hydrostatic pressure of blood in the arteriole, right? So उससे क्या होगा, जो ग्लोमेरुलस फिल्ट्रेशन प्रेशर है जो कि नॉर्मल रेट में 10 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी होता है, बिकॉज जो एफरेंट आर्टीरियोल ब्लड को लेके आती है नॉर्मल कंडीशंस, दैट प्रेशर देयर इज 60 mm of mercury, which is being opposed by certain other factors operating in the woman's capsule, right? तो जो नेट GFP आता है अंडर नॉर्मल कंडीशंस वो क्या होता है 10 mm of mercury. But in the state when excess of water is consumed, तो जो ब्लड वॉल्यूम जो आ रही होगी, जो हाइड्रोस्टैटिक प्रेशर होगा, दैट विल बी मोर देन 60 mm. इट कुड बी 70 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी, इट कुड बी 80 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी, बट जो ऑपोजिंग फोर्सेस है वो सेम है. ठीक है, 50 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी. सो द GFP जो है वो 10 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी से इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. 80 minus 50 इट कुड बी 30, राइट? अगर 70 mm ऑफ मर्क्यूरी से आ रहा है, 70 minus 50 it will become 20 mm of mercury. So you understand, normal condition में GFP is 10 mm of mercury, but when the hydrostatic pressure is of blood is more than 60 mm of mercury, so the GFP is also likely to increase. Now, once the GFP increases, तो जो glomerular filtration rate है, जो कि normal conditions में per minute में kidneys filter करती हैं 125 ml of blood, right? So even that will increase and it will result in more nephric filtrate being produced, इसको हम प्राइमरी यूरिन भी कहते हैं, एंड अल्टीमेटली यूरिन का आउटपुट जो है वो इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. So this is the first step, that extra filtrate, nephric filtrate would come into the PCT. Now the second step of regulating the excess of water would be by decreasing reabsorption of water by the DCT and collecting tubule. See, under normal conditions, that both the DCT and collecting tubule, it is permeable to water, right? वहां पे pores रहते हैं जो कि open रहते हैं and water gets reabsorbed. But in this condition, what will happen is high amount of water, or we can say higher amount of nephric filtrate once filtered. So this would be a high, okay, let's go this way. The high amount of water in the blood, right? So this will be detected by osmoreceptors present in the hypothalamus. And hypothalamus क्या करता है? ये ADH, जिसको हम एंटी डायूरेटिक हार्मोन कहते हैं या वेसोप्रेसिन के नाम से भी जानते हैं, इसको सिंथेसाइज करता है. ठीक है, एंड दिस ADH इज देन stored in the posterior lobe of pituitary, and as and when required it is released from the anterior lobe of pituitary. So when there is high amount of water, this would be detected by the osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus as usual will release ADH. This ADH will get stored in the posterior lobe of pituitary, but what will happen is under the high conditions of water, the posterior lobe of pituitary would not release anti-diuretic hormone. So there will be low levels of ADH in the blood, and this will decrease the permeability of both the DCT and the collecting tubule. वहाँ के they will be impermeable, they will close, the water channels there will close and the water will not be reabsorbed. So the excess of water will be passed out in the urine and the urine will become hypotonic. The other way around, when the volume of body fluid decreases below normal, जब scarcity हो जाती है water की body के अंदर, वो कौन सी कंडीशन से जब ऐसे होता है कि when the body is highly dehydrated, कैसे हो सकता है when you exercise profusely and you are profusely sweating, so there will be good amount of water loss, right? उसके साथ साथ salt का भी loss होगा, right? So these are some of the conditions जिसमें कि water का जो है that is being expelled out, right? So um, could be higher temperatures which will increase the perspiration rate. So उस time पे urine जो pass होगा that will be hypertonic urine. Less amount of water will be released in the urine. Body पानी को रीएब्सॉर्ब करने की टेंडेंसी रखेगी. सो जो हमने पहली कंडीशंस देखी हैं उससे ऑपोजिट कंडीशंस ऑपरेट करेंगी कि अल्ट्रा फिल्ट्रेशन का जो रेट है दैट विल डिक्रीज एंड reabsorption by DCT and collecting tubule would increase. So when there is low amount of water, obviously blood volume fall kar gaya hai. So there is lower hydrostatic pressure of blood, which will be somewhat lower than 60 mm of mercury. So this will reduce GFP. GFP 10 mm of mercury se kam ho jayega. So reduce GFR and less nephric filtrate would be produced. So in totality, the urine output will decrease. Less frequency of micturition will occur. Now, also by increasing reabsorption of water in the collecting tubule. So when there is low amount of water that is entering from the afferent arteriole, so that will be detected by osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus and they will release ADH, right? So this ADH, antidiuretic hormone, now will be released by the posterior lobe of pituitary and into the blood. And this ADH के receptors कहाँ पे present है? That is present in the walls of DCT and the collecting tubule. So ADH के response में ये ADH अपने receptors पे bind करेगा and these receptors will open wider. The pores जो है वो wide open हो जाएंगे and it will increase permeability of the walls of DCT and collecting tubule so that more water enters into the interstitial fluid and the urine that would be passed would be concentrated urine, hypertonic urine. Now also under the conditions of dehydration, salt का भी imbalance होता है. Along with the water, salt का भी imbalance होता है because to maintain the salt balance, there is another system which is called as RASS system, that is renin-angiotensinogen aldosterone system that operates. Now let's have a look at this. So under the condition when the body is dehydrated, when there is scarcity of the water in the body, उस टाइम पे अभी अभी हमने देखा क्या हो रहा है, ब्लड वॉल्यूम डिक्रीज हो गया है, ऑस्मोलारिटी इंक्रीज हो गई है, खून जो है वो गाढ़ा हो गया है. तो जब ब्लड वॉल्यूम कम होगा, सो बेसिकली क्या हो रहा है, जो रीनल आर्टीरियल प्रेशर है वो डिक्रीज हो गया है, राइट? Because viscosity it increases and to restore this electrolyte balance, to restore the sodium balance in the body. So there are the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. Now, what are these juxtaglomerular cells? Where are they located? If you can see the diagram here, these green color cells here, which is present, juxta का मतलब होता है junction. So these are present at the junction of afferent arteriole and the glomerulus. उसके junction पे होते हैं. तो ये जो JG cells भी बोलते हैं हम इनको, they are present in the nephron in the kidney. So in response to the decreased arterial pressure, these JG cells, they start secreting renin. This is an enzyme. So this enzyme is being secreted and it enters into the glomerulus. So basically it is entering the blood. Now, when it enters into the Bowman's capsule and into the PCT, so this blood also receives another plasma protein, which is angiotensinogen. Now, where is this angiotensinogen produced? This is produced by the liver. This protein, this protein is also there in the blood. JG cells ne, in response to low blood volume and low salt concentration, क्या JG cells activate हो गए, इन्होंने renin को secrete कर दिया किसके अंदर, blood के अंदर. So this renin now will cleave this angiotensinogen into angiotensinogen 1. ये जो angiotensinogen 1 है, this is a decapeptide and it is highly unstable. So very soon it gets changed into a octapeptide, that is angiotensinogen 2. Now this angiotensinogen 2, now this will act on the adrenal the cortex of the adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland then secretes the another hormone which is aldosterone. Now, this aldosterone increases the reabsorption of sodium ions from the nephric filtrate. इनके जो receptors हैं वो DCT में इनके receptors हैं, तो वहां पे sodium ion का reabsorption हो जाता है into the interstitial fluid, and the blood volume, it increases, right? So this is how, by two systems, by secretion of the hormone, antidiuretic hormone, and by renin-angiotensin and aldosterone system, the body tends to maintain the water and salt balance in higher vertebrates, the birds and the mammals.